this is the first autumn ever that I didn't feel this surge of motivation and inspiration and excitement about a new chapter and new projects and organizing and feeling of preparation, I think. And even last year, like every year, but even last year when I was on crutches and in a boot, I still had that feeling. I remember that because I talked about it in at least one of the videos, if not a few, last autumn. In fact, I think that's where this whole channel was born from. At least, like technically, I feel like that's probably where, was it autumn? I'm pretty sure it was autumn. I'm almost positive that this channel started last autumn. So happy birthday to us, I guess, to Sweet Vegan Living YouTube channel. That's true, I didn't even think about that. I wasn't even planning to talk about that. But anyway, the point is just that this year I don't have that same feeling. I usually feel like it's a fresh start thing, and I talked about it before as maybe coming from when I was a kid and going back to school in September, new clothes, new school supplies, new class, maybe new school, new friends. And then even later when I had my own kids, you know, that going back to school, getting back into routines, preparing for the winter, all that kind of stuff. And this year I just I don't feel it. And I don't know what that's about. I don't remember ever not having this feeling and having September just come and go without me feeling like, okay, let's go. So that's strange, and I actually really miss that feeling. I'm trying not to force it though. I caught myself a couple days ago really trying to push, and I think maybe I'm just supposed to be listening right now. That's scary. I'm not very good at not doing. Which isn't to say that I'm doing nothing, but like not pushing forward with something that I think is supposed to be happening. That's very challenging for me. So I have to just take deep breaths and maybe listen and see what this is about. Maybe right now something else is meant to be happening, not starting all new projects. So you can see that just thinking about that is stressing me out, but that's okay. That's okay. This is a good learning opportunity, I think. Anyways, that's not what this video is even about. Today we're talking about gnocchi. Speaking of learning, I am by no stretch of the imagination a professional at this. I've only made it a few times, and even for this video, I made some critical errors and then remade it with some common sense, but mostly from some tips from my very chefy youngest daughter, who corrected a few of my mistakes for me. And I'll explain that as we go. But you can make gnocchi with pretty much any potatoes you want. I use sweet potatoes and russet potatoes because that's what I had. And I made it from the simplest possible recipe I could find. So basically you just need potatoes and flour and a bit of salt. Is that it? Yeah, and some seasoning if you want. You don't even have to put the salt if you don't want to. Of course, I made like a sauce and vegetables and stuff to go with it, but I mean the actual gnocchi itself, super, super simple. At the end of this video, I added a sneak peek of a pumpkin cheesecake that I made last week, and I didn't film the whole production because I've been really under the weather. I don't know if you can tell. I'm trying to hang on to my voice while I'm filming this now, but yeah, I didn't have the energy to film that whole production also. But the recipe will be in the autumn issue of the Sweet Vegan Living magazine that is coming out very, very soon. And if you haven't already subscribed to that, just go over to sweetvegan.net and subscribe to the magazine. It's a digital magazine and it's completely free. And there'll be the recipe for the gnocchi also, with the detailed measurements and steps, and some other recipes and really cool articles that I think that you will enjoy also. So head over to sweetvegan.net after you watch this video and get yourself a copy. Okay, so I said earlier that you could use any potatoes that you want for this recipe, and that's probably not technically true according to what I imagine is many gnocchi purists. But I used russet potatoes and a couple of sweet potatoes that I had here at the house, and I washed them, and then I pricked them with a fork to make holes in them, and then I threw them in the oven at 400 degrees and baked them until they were soft. The sweet potatoes cook much faster than the russet potatoes, so they had to come out a bit earlier. So if you're doing this, just keep an eye on your potatoes. Don't assume that they're all going to be done at the same time. Once the potatoes are cooked, I peeled the skin off of them, and I very, very strongly recommend that you do the same. And I will just tell you right now that my first mistake was making the gnocchi when the potatoes were still hot, and my daughter told me that that was probably activating the gluten in the flour, and probably one of the reasons why my first batch was pretty dense, pretty chewy. You can mash your potatoes up by hand if you want to, but I'm going to tell you right now that my second batch, I riced the potatoes in a potato ricer, and they were so much fluffier and much, much more enjoyable to eat than the ones that I mashed by hand. The next step is just to sprinkle a little bit of salt on them if you want to, or any seasoning that you want to add, and then to add flour a little bit at a time. And the next really important part here is to not overwork your dough. Again, the first batch that I did, I definitely overworked the dough. So I was really, really careful with the next batch to make sure that the dough stayed pretty fluffy and light. You can almost tell when you see me cutting into it that the dough is bouncy. It's not heavy like my first batch was that I'm not going to show you. I divided the dough into 4, and then I rolled the dough out into long rolls on a floured surface so that it wouldn't stick. And then I cut each of the rolls into little pillows. And then I rolled my little pillows into little gnocchi. Make sure that you keep your board well floured for that, or they will stick to the board and your thumb, and they'll just get squashed and you won't get that cute little gnocchi pillow that you're looking for. I imagine technically you don't actually have to do this step at all. You could just keep them the way they were if you don't have a little gnocchi roller or whatever it's called. I'm not sure. I put my gnocchi in the freezer, and then I moved on to my veg. So I just cut up some onion. And then I chopped up some chard. I had some big leaf chard from the market, and then we also have some rainbow chard in the garden box outside. So I chopped some of that up as well, and that will add some color and some younger, more tender leaves. I heated up some oil in a pan, and then I sauteed my onion. And when the onion started to become a bit translucent, I added a big clove of garlic that I crushed. And then I threw my frozen gnocchi into the pan as well. I added all of my greens to the gnocchi. and tossed that really well to make sure that it was all mixed together. I added some vegetable broth and I added some pesto, some chimichurri actually, which is pesto that's made with cilantro, because we had some in the fridge. You can use any pesto you want, or you can skip this part if you don't love pesto. Of course, you can use any seasoning you want to, really. I mixed that up really well but carefully because I didn't want to smush my gnocchi, and then I added some more vegetable broth and sprinkled on some vegan Parmesan and put a lid on that and let that cook until the gnocchi was soft and the greens were cooked but still had a bit of bite to them, so not super soggy, just soft, tender. And that was it. So delicious. The first batch really was chewy and dense, and the second batch was like these little delicious, soft, pillowy potato clouds. They were perfect. So the gnocchi is not the only thing that I had to try a couple of times in the last week. The pumpkin cheesecake that I told you about earlier, I also had to do a couple of versions of, because the first one that I did, I made my own cream cheese out of cashews, and it just wasn't light and fluffy enough, so the cake just felt like this very heavy, dense, delicious, but like heavy cheesecake. It tasted like peanut butter for some reason, but basically just felt like a cashew butter pie. So I just started over again with a completely different recipe and tried some different stuff, and the second one turned out beautifully. And as I said before, that is going to be in the Sweet Vegan Living magazine that's coming out very soon, along with all the specific ingredients and instructions for the gnocchi that I just showed you. So hop on over to sweetvegan.net and subscribe to the magazine, or download a copy of the one magazine that's coming out in a couple of days if you want. All the archived issues are there also. And yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. It means so much to me. And if you are a Patreon subscriber, thank you for believing in the work that I'm doing, for wanting to be a part of it, and for contributing to it and helping to make this channel possible, literally. And if you are someone that would like to work one-on-one with me for naturopathy or nutrition, there is a booking link in the description below. I'll be back next week, and in the meantime, take really good care of yourselves. Bye.